Hey everybody, it's B Diz, the rock star part of SuperObvious. In this video, we're talking about how Saw is my favorite in the horror movie franchise genre. Let's go. There are a lot of reasons why Saw is my favorite. For one is the story. If you're a movie buff like I am, you care about plot, characters, effects, especially as the movies in the franchise get bigger and bigger, and the storyline grows more and more. And all these movies make everything in the Saw universe more intense and a crazy viewing experience. Something that is great about the Saw movies is the crazy twist at the end of each movie. A Saw movie trademark is this crazy build-up to where we get this reveal of specific information that has us feeling like idiots for not noticing it while watching the movie. And they also show us all the hints throughout the movie which we should have noticed if we weren't so dumb. One thing I always thought was interesting about the Saw movies was the first person we ever seen in a Jigsaw trap, and that's a girl named Amanda, and she survived and was in future movies, and also one of Jigsaw's followers that helped with a lot of bad stuff that happened to the victims. People in Jigsaw traps are people who usually do things that they are okay in life at the expense of others, whether it's getting away with crimes where you hurt someone without really getting punished for it, or you have some kind of job where you don't help people who need help, but you just get them out the door and don't care about them. A prime example is when John is diagnosed and sick. When he is denied medical coverage from his insurance company, even after he has suggestions of where he could go to possibly get better, he felt his insurance company will cover people's health issues if it's not that serious, but people who are really sick and have medical issues will get told some BS and get kicked out the door and have no other options. Something else that makes Saw so great is John Cramer, who was Jigsaw, and he is the guy that makes these crazy traps that we have seen people in, but in his mind, he does this for people to be appreciative of their lives and others. He is also an engineer who builds these traps and mentally is far ahead of people's reactions and behavior that he already knows exactly how people will react under pressure or circumstances, to where on one of his tapes, when you're in a Jigsaw trap, he can tell you exactly how to get out the trap, but if it doesn't make sense to your thinking reactions, you will do the opposite and die, where if you just listened, you would have escaped the Jigsaw trap and lived. Maybe. During the end of John's life, when he has followers who are continuing his work, they make traps to where the victims really don't have a chance of surviving, which is the opposite of how John did things. When he put people in traps, they had at least a somewhat fair chance of surviving. Technically, Jigsaw never killed anyone. He just put a whole bunch of people in these messed up traps to where they would more than likely die because of him. But that's like different, I guess. More info on how the story of the franchise is so cool is that Saw 3 and Saw 4 in the timeline happened at the same time. So someone trying to explain details of everything with these two movies combined is complicated as shit. I remember when Saw 3D came out and was supposed to be the last one, me as a Saw fan, I'm very happy more movies came out after this one. Even though it got kind of mixed reviews, I really liked the Jigsaw movie, which was like a prequel and backstory about Jigsaw, which I liked. We even get to see how the reverse bear trap was made, which was cool. We also have the Spyro movie, which even though I had predicted and knew who the reveal of the Jigsaw copycat was going to be, for the most part, this movie was a good addition to the franchise. The ending also left things kind of open for another movie for this kind of Saw setting to keep going, which I'm super down for. Back to the story elements of Saw, even though horror fans will call Saw gore porn and that's it, Saw has a storyline that is way more complex and builds up as the movies go. The story of Saw has a lot more weight than Friday the 13th, A Nightmare on Elm Street, It, Halloween, Chucky, Hellraiser, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jeepers Creepers, Scream, or any kind of exorcism or possession movie. Pick any movie from the Saw franchise and any movie from any other movies of the other franchises I just named, and when you write down the plot or story in detail side by side, Saw has a way deeper story. And of course, it's super gory and intense and all that stuff. As far as music, there's a few different Saw themes during the movies that are really great and add to whatever is going on screen, especially during the climax moments. Next, we're talking about the Jigsaw traps. A person waking up in a Jigsaw trap and being told the instructions of who they are, why they are in this trap, and how they could possibly escape, but more than likely are fucked. It feels like a big deal and very intense for viewers. We're talking about some of the painful but traps that you could survive. We're talking about the needle pit in Saw 2. This trap is crazy because this was meant for Xavier, but he chose to throw Amanda into this pit which was messed up because Amanda is someone who is trying to overcome her drug addiction. By the time she is just swinging her arms and you see all the needles flying all over the place, it's very cringe and hard to watch. We're talking about the knife chair from Saw 4. Jigsaw has Cecil in this trap because he is a junkie and is the reason why Jigsaw's pregnant girl Jill lost their baby. To get out the trap, Cecil has to press his face through this helmet with a bunch of knives cutting his face. He falls out the trap and when trying to rush Jigsaw, falls into a barbed wire pit and dies. Part of the point of the victims in these traps is to make them appreciate their life and the life of others, but some people just can't be helped. Next, we're talking about the unfair, pretty much impossible to survive traps. The first one is the Silent Circle from Saw 3D. This trap is messed up. This lady is in this device that has these poles that are going to stab her in the neck if she makes noise too loud. The key to get out is in her stomach, and Bobby, the fake Jigsaw trap survivor, has to pull out this string, but the hook that the string is attached to starts to cut her up from the inside, which makes her not able to control screaming from the pain and dies. This trap is super intense and stressful to watch. We're talking about the Venus flytrap from Saw 2. This trap is one that's so unfair that it might as well be considered unbeatable. This guy wakes up with this helmet on his head with spikes that's going to close shut if he doesn't get the key to take the trap off. But the key is located behind his eye, so he would have to cut out his eye to get the key. And with the stress and pressure of a short time limit to do this, I'm not surprised this victim dies. Next, we're talking about the hot wax trap from Spiral. In this trap, Captain Garza has to puncture her spine with this spike to avoid a bunch of hot wax being dumped over her face. Doing that to her spine more than likely could have killed her anyway, so this trap was very unfair. We're talking about the Flammable Gel Trap from Saw. This is another trap that is completely unfair. The victim is covered in this flammable gel and has to get this combination to open a safe to get a vaccine to help from what's killing him. The room is completely covered with numbers, so the combination could be anything. Plus, all he has is a candle, so he can barely see, and this is while he is walking barefooted on broken glass. We're talking about the glass grinder trap from Spiral. To me, this was one of the most messed up traps in the movie. This guy is hanging from the ceiling while a bunch of glass bottles are broken into pieces and shot at him from this machine. Detective Banks is trying to get him down, but the time frame is so short between the machine being on and off that Banks doesn't really have any time to try and help without being pretty much killed himself. By the time Banks finds the key, it's too late and the victim is dead. Now we're talking about the rigged traps that people can't survive. First, we're talking about the Angel Trap from Saw 3. This is a trap that Amanda rigged to where the person wasn't going to be able to escape even when doing what they were told to do to get out. The victim had to put her hand in this container filled with acid to grab a key to lock her out of the trap, which the key didn't work, which led to her ribs being ripped apart and dying. We're talking about the Pendulum Trap next. This trap is for the guy who killed Hoffman's sister, so even when doing what he was told to get out the trap, which is for him to put his hands in these devices so his hands can be crushed, the huge swinging axe keeps getting closer to his midsection, pretty much cutting him in half. Jigsaw made traps that people could have a chance to escape. The traps Hoffman and Amanda made didn't fit the Jigsaw code because their traps were made to where the person's guaranteed to not survive. Next, we're talking about the traps that if the victims listened, they would have survived. The main one I think about is the glass coffin to where Stram had to get inside and he would have been safe, and that's it. But of course, he thinks it's a trap, so when Hoffman and him have a fight, Stram throws Hoffman inside, the room closes in crushing him, and Hoffman lives. If Stram would have did what the tape said, he would have survived. We're talking about the sawed-off shotgun key trap from Jigsaw next. Anna and Ryan are chained in a room with a sawed-off shotgun between them. By assumption, you think one kills the other and that one will be set free, which is what Anna does, but the shotgun backfires, killing her and destroying the keys that would have helped him get free. If she listened to what Jigsaw was saying while getting set up in the trap, Anna did the one thing that she wasn't supposed to do. Jigsaw is so smart at predicting what people will do in these life or death high pressure situations. He can literally tell someone what to do to survive, but they will just act irrational, doing the opposite, which leads to them being dead. With all the different categories of traps I talked about, of course there are a lot more in each category, but I just wanted to go over a few examples of each one. But yeah, that's the video with me talking about why I like the Saw franchise. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the Saw franchise and which movie is your favorite. Like and share the video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Totally for sure.